Note Web is your personal content management tool. It lets you map, analyze, and generate various types of content and resources. You just decide just how standardized the workflow around this content should be, from pre-configured and user-defined types, soon ad hoc color icon typing, to filtered boards and portals to complete applications and solutions. Note in Web Inc.'s team works on streamlining this experience as standardization evolves. In the times of Gen AI, the line between content and code becomes yet more blurry. Previous screencasts on the channel show how easy it is to set up a Note Web CAIP Agent knowledge model over a Note Web account data. CAIP stands for Conversational AI Platform and was coined by Gartner. These screencasts are based on the previous channel screencast dedicated to Note Web CAIP Agent Avatar in MS Teams and AWS Cham online video and chat services, which show retrieval augmented generation responses as well as blueprinting, create, read, update, delete cloud solutions based on plain text requirements, building and deploying to of data and resources cloud solutions. Since GPT-G becoming open source, it is also language of choice for solution blueprints to be suggested by Note Web CAIP Agent. This screencast is dedicated to AWS serverless support by NodeJS technology. We start by highlighting Note Web Agent support for SQL and NoSQL data containers in generated Node.js AWS Lambdas. AWS SDK TypeScript is used to read-write in DynamoDB. SQLize is used for MySQL CRUD operations. Sample AWS Lambdas would manage customer and product entities. Resources like MySQL, Kubernetes, and Kafka clusters take more than 5 minutes to provision each, so we skip cluster setup as shown in previous screencasts. Here you see the configuration for the knowledge model. So the problem domain solution tag, as defined here in tag hierarchy, bears configuration for our large language model. And so here we select the type of configuration. So it's either a tag or a dedicated configuration. And since it's a tag, then we select the tag to be used as source. So here, if we take a look, you can see how we set up the LLM and the vector database for retrieval augmented generation. In order to publish the just defined knowledge model to chatbot, we need to define the integration. So we define the integration ID. We select what knowledge model we want to publish, the one which we just showed. We define the type of integration, chatbot in this case, and also the integration chatbot. So in this case, MS Teams. So this is the MS Teams account and account password. And this is the priority contact. So only this contact would be allowed to chat to the Note Web CAIP Agent Avatar. And subsequent versions would define more flexible behaviors with whitelisting. So once I click Enable, you'll see that Note Web CAIP Agent Avatar for this account would become active, and then we can carry on with our demo session. I switch over to the Microsoft Teams. So this is my account. Note Web Test account is the account that we have dedicated here. Now you see that the status of the account has changed to active. It usually occurs within a few seconds. So as shown in the previous screencasts, I can show you that we can operate in both chat and online call modes with audio only or audio and video. For example, I can ask retrieval augmented generation questions. So the data model that we have defined is very simple. There are just a couple of files attached, but it can be complex graphs of web nodes with different data sources. Well, at least that's coming in subsequent versions. So here's how I can ask. Well, let's ask about Note Web DSL. No, let's say purpose. Let's just go. Okay. So it takes few seconds to respond, and we are working on improving the smoothness of conversation. There is definitely many more opportunities to ensure to provide high quality of experience. And in the meantime, I start typing the command to start the call. And we wait for the avatar to call back, and we will be showing other modes to switch between communications. Yeah. Let's see interactivity levels in subsequent screencast.
Short.
Yeah, so Note Web Agent Avatar has just introduced itself, and basically it says that it helps us building and deploying AWS solutions, and it can also answer Retrieval Augmented Generation questions. And so basically, let's start with the purpose of today's screencast. So I'm going to tell it to define a couple of AWS Lambdas and generate a blueprint, and then to deploy it over to my AWS account. Here's how it works. Avatar. Please save to serverless examples web node. I need just a couple of AWS Lambdas in Node.js TypeScript, utilizing only AWS serverless technologies and without any access from outside. Customer Lambda should manage customer entity in NoSQL database. Its attributes are first name, last name, phone, email, interest. Product Lambda should manage product entity in an SQL database. Its attributes are name, description, unit, price. Go Avatar. So now we wait a few seconds for NodeWeb to save a new web node, and then we will ask to create a blueprint for it.
I need just a couple of Lambdas in Node.js TypeScript utilizing only AWS serverless technologies and without any access from outside. Customer Lambda should manage customer entity in NoSQL database. Its attributes are first name, last name, phone, email, interest. Product Lambda should manage product entity in an SQL database. Its attributes are name, description, unit, price. You can access produced problem domain solution web node at https://noteteamweb.com/notespf/?note
It
it equals
should also copy the
4501.
summary of the just said text to the chat. Okay, so let's take a look at the web node that was just set up. So we refresh the list of web nodes in the test account. Yeah, and this is the text that I have spoken more or less. Okay, so now let's get a blueprint for it. So this new web node has been set up just on my request in Microsoft Teams. Let's enable it to store the blueprints. Okay, let's save it. Now let's ask NodeWeb to generate a blueprint and save it to the same web node. Avatar, please generate and save code from serverless examples web node. Go Avatar. So now we wait a few seconds until Note Web CAIP Agent save.
You can access saved NWDSL code at
Yeah, it spells the
https://notespf/?note
location
it equals
of the new web node.
4501.
And now we can go and check out the generated Note Web DSL code. So here is the summary of the response. Well, it would be in chat once I go offline. Now, if I reload the serverless examples web node, I would see the Note Web DSL code as well. Okay, So a Note Web CAIP agent has suggested to name the database instance productDB, and well, I can show you that we do not have such MySQL cluster. However, we do have another one, which we call CRMDB. So I would change it. Accordingly. CRMDB. Well, dashes, hyphens, under hyphens, underscores, they get removed anyway from IDs, so it's fine to keep it named like this. Otherwise, we are ready to command deployment to AWS account. So our account, which is named AWS account, is mapped as a tag. It is this one. And basically you can see the content that we already have defined there. So there are maybe a few buckets, there are maybe a few users, and there is also a database instance that we have just seen, and there are no lambdas. And I can show it to you also in AWS console. So we are all set. This time, however, I also would like to be able to inspect the generated code. And this time I choose to deploy it as a monorepo. So I would have a single repository, single branch with source code of both lambdas. Store it in my GitLab server. So this is the repository name, Note Web as demo, NodeJS, NoSQL. And let me call it screencast, August screencast. This URL I prepared in advance. And yeah, let me save it. So we will be producing a monorepo. We pass the username, port, and this would be the name of the branch. And basically, let me show to you that currently there is no such branch. Yeah, so there are a few test examples, but no August 2024 screencast. Okay, so now we're all set. Just refresh, show, and now we are all set. We can ask Note Web CAIP Agent Avatar to deploy serverless examples of WebNode to AWS account, the one that I have just showed to you in the AWS console. Avatar, please deploy from serverless examples web node Go Avatar. Okay, this time we will have to wait a bit longer, maybe a minute and a half or so, for AWS Lambdas to be generated, their source code, and the repository to be populated with generated source code, and so forth. Basically, if we do it from UI, as I have shown in the previous screencasts, we can observe some status. and we would be given more feedback in the MS Teams chats going forward, but not in this current version. Avatar, please deploy from serverless examples web node Go Avatar. Web node Go Avatar. Avatar, please deploy from
Arrow
serverless examples.
previous mention to Note Web CAIP Agent. Location, line, 1, column, 1, message, string matching regex \n, expected but 1 found, underscore type.
Avatar, please deploy from serverless examples web node Go Avatar. We'll be doing more about providing higher quality feedback of deployment states straight into the chat and web UI. Currently just displays a spinner, but I can show you the deployment log. So for example, now it generates code for the customer Lambda. It's almost done by now. You see no errors. Let's take a look if we have the source code. So that was the original list of branches, and now we should have had another branch. Yeah, this is the branch that I referred to. So inside of the code, so here we have the deployment scripts in Ansible. This is the source code for the customer Lambda. Well, so the TypeScript configuration file, the dependencies. So here we use AWS Service Express for Express integration, and we also use AWS Lambda Power Tools. And yeah, basically these are the ones that we rely mostly upon. So here is our index. And in index, we see that we just connect the customer controller. And this code, it just lists the configured routes. And inside of the controller, here's our customer controller. It's very simple. It services just get by ID, post to create a new customer, updating an existing customer by ID, and deleting a record. And also we have repository. Repository implements data manipulations using AWS SDK and document client for DynamoDB. And yeah, we also have a model. It's very simple, just an interface. So this was for the NoSQL database. Now we can take a look at the SQL database. So product Lambda. So the TypeScript code, so index is similar. It just imports the controller. Controller doesn't differ much. The same. Here we do not index the data. Later on, well, in fact, we have already shown it for Python lambdas. So we can index data, and subsequently in screencasts, I will also show how we store the embeddings for using them along with Retrieval Augmented Generation queries. But that's in subsequent screencasts. So the controller looks very similar. However, our repository differs. So we use Sequelize. We define the model for the product repository, a Sequelize model. And once again, here it's slightly different. Class instead of interface and so forth. Now let's take a look how it works. So here, if we refresh, we see our lambdas, customer lambda, product lambda. So let's take a look at the dynamic. Customer lambda is still empty. Now let's create an test entry. look at the customer data model, what attributes we define there. So first name, customer ID, email, interest, last name, phone. Okay, so first name, last name. What else do we have there? First name, last name, email, phone, and interest. Okay, let's try to save it. Okay, so let's save it. Test post, save. Okay, so this is the bare minimum of test data that we need to pass for Lambda invocation. So we need to pass the header, the isBase64 encoded by default is false, but we definitely need to pass HTTP method and request contents. So this way it works. Here, as a response, we get the created entry and the status code. So let me show it to you. You can save it for later use. Here is the recent invocation, another test. Yeah, let's take a look at the DB. Yeah, here are the couple of entries that we have just created. And the same we can do also with SQL database using the product Lambda. So let me copy the list data. By the way, what we didn't try get all, get by ID, but don't worry, it certainly works as well. So let me take a look at the model of product. Product ID, name, description, and unit price. By the way, unit and price are supposed to be two different attributes, not linear. Name and the description. Now let's say HP Victus 16-inch. Description is GPU acceleration and unit price. What was it? Number. Basically, that is it. And we posted two products. Otherwise, everything remains the same. And let's save it. And product post. See, here we have the data contents that were created. We can try to get this data directly. Well, there is also bit information, just regular AWS Lambda notation. If we change it to get and see if this data is now actually accessible. See, that is what we have saved just not so long ago. That is it. So stay tuned for more screencasts from Note Web Incorporated about new Note Web features, and namely, we are going to be showing quite soon deployer of Terraform. So now we have deployers as Ansible scripts. We are planning to do Terraform deployer as well. And we are going to provide support for automatically generating unit and integration tests in the generated code, be it Lambdas or Kubernetes services or container services, like for ECS in AWS. And we are going also to show SQS and Kafka producers and consumer source code generation. And you will be able to download the source code straight from your Note Web account if you don't want to bother about setting up a repository, so that you can use it as a like kind of initializer, but for generating AWS and a bit later on Azure code. Thank you for your attention. Bye bye.